Today seems like a good day to dive in. So let's do that. Okay, y'all. So I was watching this episode of Upshaws with Mike Epps. I don't know if y'all have seen it, and I don't know if y'all mind is like, is that like a God show? Like, is that about God? Y'all, I watch what I watch, and for the most part, I try to keep it strictly not doing too much. But sometimes life is life, and I need a laugh, and that's the show that makes me laugh. God is still dealing with me in a lot of different ways. He continues to work on me every day, just like I know he does y'all. So I was watching Upshaws, right? And on this episode, the wife, I want to say her name is Regina, but I could be wrong. She left at the end of the last season. She left her house after she had a heart attack. She was going through a depressive state. You could tell she just had a lot going on, like anxiety, worry. She just felt like she wasn't living up to who she was supposed to be. Like in some instance, I start living for everybody else and not me. So on this specific episode, this is when she's went to therapy. You know, her husband's trying to get her to come back home, and she's like, I'm not ready. Her kids are not understanding why she's not home because, you know, even one of the girls said, moms don't leave, you know, and she sat there and the therapist was basically telling her, you know, like, what is it? Like, what's the problem? Because you have to be honest about where you're at. You have to be honest about what you're feeling and how you got to that point. So after therapy, she ended up going back to her husband, right? And she ended up having a breakthrough. She was telling him that, you know, this happened when I was in school, and I just put on this Superwoman costume, and I just felt like I had to, like, I gotta do this, because if I don't do this, it's not gonna get done. I gotta do that, because if I don't do that, that's not gonna get done. I have to be here. I have to be available. I have to be there for everybody else. But I neglected me. And y'all, I sat there and tears filled my eyes because for the longest, I have been trying my best to understand what is going on with me. So when I get on here, I talk to you guys. I allow the Holy Spirit to work through me. I read my Bible. I study about it before I get on here, and I talk to you guys because there's never a time where I want you to take what I say firsthand. I want you to be able to go back to the Bible and to be able to read it and to be able to understand God for yourself. I don't want y'all to ever be dependent on no sermons, no man, no podcast, nothing. Because it's okay. It's all fine to be able to listen to this, to be able to make you feel better, to be able to understand that somebody's where I'm at. Somebody's feeling where I'm, feeling what I'm feeling. They're there, and I am too. So it makes me feel better that somebody, is there with me. But she had a breakthrough and basically was saying that she lost sight of who she was. I could never put it into words, but when she did, it put it into words for me. And she had a breakthrough, and like Mike Epps does, which his name on there is Benny, laughed and was like, tried to make it like a comic relief thing, because it was so heavy. And like I told y'all, I'm not ever on here to make this podcast heavy, but that spoke to me. For the longest, I've been feeling overwhelmed. Like, I got to get this done. I got to make sure my kids are here. I got to make sure my husband's there. I got to make sure that my house is straight. I got to make sure that I went here, that you check on this, that you make sure you did this, that is their appointment set for that. I make sure everything in my house, my family, is straight. But I don't make sure I'm straight. I don't make sure that I'm straight. Y'all, even when I take days off, guess what I'm doing? Making sure my house is straight, doing this, running errands. I can never just sit down. I literally just sat here the other day and I said, the next time I take off work, I have to leave my house. Like, I have to stop and just be. Just be. Do you know how many things go on in this world? And let's just use this as an example. There's animals everywhere. God is in control of the animals. God is in control of everything in this world, right? So when you see the animals, what they doing? Minding their business. I don't feel like they have a worry in the world because at the end of the day, they know God gonna feed them. They know that he gonna make their food available. So they chilling, right? Why are we not like that? I spend so much of my time making sure everybody else is okay that I don't even know if I'm okay. I used to be this person who woke up, y'all, jolly, happy, joyful. Yay, it's a new day. Excited. I'm excited. Now I wake up thankful that I woke up, of course. But what is today going to bring? And what problem am I going to have to face today? What is going to be different? How is this going to be better? Like, just. But if you don't check yourself, who will? If you don't understand what you're going through in order to make it better, if you don't acknowledge how you're feeling, how is it going to change? A couple years ago, I slipped into a real quick depression. I didn't even realize that's what it was, y'all. Real quick. It happened so fast. I didn't even know what was happening because I lost sight of me. I lost sight of who I was, who God created me to be, how grateful I was to be able to live this life. And I allowed, because everything that just kept happening, it just seemed like it was one thing after the next. I let all that creep into my mind. I let fear overtake what I was supposed to be doing. Because there was never a point in time in my life where I wasn't trying to do something, push for something, go at it with everything I got. And it's just like, I lost track of that. I stopped giving myself grace. I had one of my coworkers tell me something recently, and that's what she said to me. I would have real life things happening to me, and I would feel bad for being upset about it, y'all. I would feel bad that it made me upset. I would feel bad that I was upset, and I would apologize for it. I'm sorry that bothered me, and she said, give yourself grace. That would have bothered me too. That would have hurt my feelings too. When did I become this person that I don't allow my feelings to be my feelings without feeling bad that they're my feelings? When did I become this person? Because I don't like her. I don't like her as a person. I don't know when that happened or when it started, but I am over it. Okay? We don't have to be everything for everybody at all times. We have to take a step back. And this is not just talking about being Superwoman. If there are any men who listen to this podcast, stop feeling like you have to be Superman all the time. Take a breath. Breathe. Because that's one thing that I tell anybody in my life. I am the most inspirational, you can do it type of person. You will never know that this is how I'm feeling. You will never know that all this is what's going on in my mind you will never know because I don't allow you to know. But what I tell y'all about faking it, the only way to get better is to realize what it was. No, you don't have to shout it to the rooftop to put everybody in your business, but you have to start somewhere. That episode made me start somewhere because I couldn't put a name to it. I couldn't understand what was happening. I sit here and I'm like, what is happening? What is wrong with me? Why am I not striving or pushing in the way that I used to? Why am I stuck? Why am I stuck? Is this where I'm supposed to be? Or am I supposed to be over there? Like, I just always feel like it was like something holding me down, like a brick that just wouldn't allow me to get up. And it might have started off as the devil in my ear. But I'm the one that's keeping it going. Because I have to know that my God is great. I have to know that my God is strong. I have to know that my God is the God who's going to make sure that I get from point A to point B. I have to know that this is the same God who brought me out of those things way back then. So what am I tripping about? What am I tripping about? I watched a sermon by Pastor Jerry Flowers, and he said, are you going to serve your fear or are you going to serve your faith? I mean, if you think about it, faith is just ignoring fear and doing it anyway. You have to decide in this moment, right now, for you, no matter what you're going through, because I'm pretty sure I am not the only person that feels this way. It might not be that you don't know who you are. It just might be that you don't feel like you know where you're going anymore. You don't feel like you know where you're headed anymore because you've let life alter your decisions over and over and over and over again, and you're not allowing God to do what he's supposed to be doing. We allow so much outside noise in that it's hard to tell when it's us or when it's God. That's what it's been for me. It's been hard to tell. Like, is this me? Is this me making a decision? Or is it God? Or is it me, going towards this thing and listening and pursuing this, or is it God? Because if we quiet the noise, like even sometimes when I listen to sermons, it was my mom who told me that you don't need to listen to somebody all the time. You don't need to listen to man all the time. Yes, you need to watch sermons, or you need to spend time with God in a way that you hear other people speak about it from different perspectives, because that's how you see it in a lot of different ways, right? Because what you understood last week might be different from what you're understanding this week, because we continue to grow as we get to know God more. You don't always have to listen to somebody else. Sometimes it's okay, and sometimes it's even better to just have quiet time with God, where you're praying, you're talking, you're reading your Bible, you're getting to know your scriptures. That's sometimes better. So even though I'll watch sermons, there's some days where I allow God to lead me. Am I watching sermons today? Am I listening to praise and worship today? And I listen to praise and worship all the time, but I'm saying as far as in that moment, am I sitting in silence today? Am I putting on gospel instrumental music and just allowing you to work in a way? Like, there's different things that work for different people, but figure out where you are in your life. Figure out how you got there. Figure out what happened before you got there. Because sometimes I read my Bible, and in my Bible, I have a busy mom's Bible. So in my Bible, it has like different scriptures. It has different passages. And in that, it'll ask you questions. Sometimes those questions, y'all, I'll be like, like, I don't even be knowing the answers, because my mind isn't quiet enough for me to think about it. I have so much things that are rumbling in the front of my mind that I can't even take the time to tell you what those answers are. And lately, I just been taking a step back, and I've been quieting the noise, and I've been legit thinking about the answers to these questions, because they're good questions. But if I keep letting everything that has happened to me, or everything that I'm doing for other people, cloud what I'm supposed to be doing for God, because the crazy thing is that whatever I'm doing for God, it's going to align in the way that it works out for my family, for the things that my kids are doing, for the things that I want to do. It's going to align the perfect way that it's supposed to, because it was ordained by Him, because it was set in motion by Him. So I wanted to address this because, like I told y'all, I'm trying to be as transparent, heart on my sleeve kind of person. And this podcast is about day-to-day life and things that we struggle with. I have been struggling with this, and I don't like to, as much as I say I'm going to be transparent, y'all, when it comes to putting people in my business, I'll be like, because they're going to judge me, right? But at the end of the day, only God has the final say over what goes on in my life. Only God can really judge me. We sit and we feel like we can judge other people, but we shouldn't. We can, but we shouldn't. And if you choose to, that's your choice. But in John 8, 1 through 11, you do remember the story about the woman who committed adultery, right? Or was caught in the act of committing adultery, and how they tried to get, have God condemn her because she was caught in the act of adultery. But God said, let he without sin cast the first stone. And he didn't even have to look up. He just writing in the dirt. Don't nobody know what he was writing in the dirt? He was writing in the dirt. And the lady was so ashamed of herself that she didn't even look up to realize that the man had disappeared, because who are you to judge? So we have to remember that, because who are we to judge? You can judge, but why judge? Because you now know better than the next person. And I don't know if anybody told you that lately, but allow me to reintroduce myself. No, for real though. Y'all know how it is. Y'all know how this podcast goes. Y'all know who I am, how I am. It is what it is. I love y'all anyway. But I'm choosing to be vulnerable with y'all and tell you things about me so that you will understand. No, I'm not perfect. I will never get on here and act like I am. Maybe you relate, maybe you don't. And that's okay too. I know that God is still working on me, and I'm okay with that. You have to decide if you're okay that God is still working on you as well. You have to ask yourself, can I be better? Can I do better? Do I make enough time to really understand who I am and where I am in my life? Do I make time for that? Because that's important. Okay, so remember when I told y'all that my friend told me, to give yourself grace. So the scripture I'm going to use today is from Proverbs chapter 16, verse 24. It says, gracious words are honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. We have to give ourselves grace to be able to understand what's happening in our lives. We have to understand how we're feeling, how we're moving in order to become better. Do I feel like I have to be there for everybody, but not be there for me? So I have to remember to give myself grace and to understand what happened before I got to this point and know that it's okay to move forward from that point, to continue to push forward. In Ephesians chapter 4, verse 15, it says, instead, speaking the truth in love, we will grow to become, in every respect, the mature body of Him who is the head, that is Christ. As long as we know that God is the head, as long as we know that if we speak highly of ourselves like He does, if we consider ourselves to be perfectly made in every aspect of our lives, and if we allow God to work in us the way that only He can, there's nothing that should stop us. There's nothing that should make us feel like we can't overcome, that we can't get better. I am joyful. I am jolly. I am happy. I love everything that God made. But sometimes life just be lifing, and I can play pretend with y'all, but I feel like enough people do that already. So I'll leave that to them. And I do what I'm best at, and that's being me. So remember how I told y'all I was going to take a break soon? The break is here. This is my last episode for now. I'll be back in a couple weeks. While I'm not here, take the time, listen to my other podcasts. If you haven't took the time to listen to them, send it to a friend, show it to a friend, listen with a friend. I'm for all that because everybody could use it. Also, be on the lookout for my mom's podcast, Evangelist Tarver. She is starting a podcast called Hidden Voices. If you know my mama, you know, but even if you don't know my mama, you're going to want to listen because it's going to be great. As always, I love y'all. Be back.